said, when you're afraid of something, and it's not a train bearing down on you on the track, but you're afraid, that's really telling you this is an area of your life where you need to push through and spend some time. This is an area where you need to grow.
Well, hello, everybody. This is Titus, and we're with Globe Growth and Development. I have Stephen. How do you pronounce your last name?
Murtagh.
Stephen Murtagh, and he is with Relive.
Yeah, that's my business.
Okay, and he's going to tell us a little bit about himself, a little bit about his history, a little about his story, and so Stephen, take it away.
Well, I'm not sure where to begin. I'm a late bloomer in some senses, but done a lot of different things. I was born in New York City, grew up there, and went to school in Pennsylvania, so Eastern guy. And then when I got out of college, I was number 13 in my draft lottery, so I went into the Navy for a couple of years. And then when I came out, went to business school in Indiana at Purdue, and then started my career, right, what I was going to do with my life. And I went and took a job at Ford Motor Company in Dearborn, and oh my God, what an eye-opener.
Yeah.
That lasted about a year, and I could tell an hour's worth of stories just on that, but it was a heavily unionized, heavy industry company, and it just wasn't for me.
What would you say was your biggest revelation of that year or being there? What's the greatest thing that you learned?
I had just gotten out of business school at Purdue and went to Ford with my head full of all these things that I learned in business school. You know, everything was going to be analyzed, and then they would do the thing that made the most sense. And when I got in the real world, I found out, nope. It's all about relationships and all about people, and the right thing happens sometimes just by accident, just like the wrong thing. Not that analyzing and planning is worthless, but as they used to say in the military, the plan goes out the window when the engine starts. It's kind of that way. And I was at Ford around the time of the exploding Pintos, so it was really eye-opening to see how the company reacted to that. I was sitting in meetings at a fairly high level because I had an analyst job, and they were talking about things like, well, what's going to cost us more to fix the problem or pay the claims?
Wow.
Yeah, ouch.
Yeah.
So it just wasn't for me. So I left just about after a year, and then went to work for Digital Equipment Company in Massachusetts. They were, at the time, really, really fast-growing computer company. Worked there for about 10 years. That's how I got out to Colorado, working with them. And then they really couldn't adapt to the PC. And so they were having a lot of trouble letting a lot of people go. And I got laid off, which most people think, oh my God. And now I look back on that and think that was probably the greatest thing that ever happened to me. You know?
I've heard of several stories where people get laid off or fired or whatever, and it's really been a pivotal moment for them in life. And what might look like a tragedy or a difficulty really ends up to be a blessing in disguise.
Oh, it totally was. I would have never left on my own. I know that, looking back. And when I left, that was the last paycheck I ever got from an employer. That was maybe 91, 92. And just been self-employed since then. I've had 5 companies I started, 3 of which crashed and burned. One of which kind of limped along, and then the last one really did well, and I did that for doing consulting with call centers, and it was great. I was in my mid-late 30s, and I was traveling all over the world. I was in the Middle East and Asia and just everywhere doing this work. It was a lot of fun, made a lot of money, and did pretty well when I sold the company in 2012. So spent a lot of years doing that. And then I retired in 2012 for about 6 months and decided retirement was just not a real thing. And that's when I got involved sort of accidentally with the Relive work. And now lately, I'm still doing that. I do that. Probably don't do it totally full time, but close to it. But I've gotten involved with a couple of other things lately, more in the arena of trying to facilitate calm adult conversation among people who disagree. And that's
interesting.
It started out as a hobby and has really morphed into something bigger as I've discovered a lot of people and a lot of groups trying to do that. And so there's a lot of support out in the community. And I'm trying to tap into that now and get it to be a little more organized. I'm pretty excited about that.
Is it something that you'd want to share with us?
Well, I started out doing it through my church.
What's it called?
Well, it was, unfortunately, as I've since learned, it was called Uncomfortable Conversations. That was the idea, is to get people to sit down and talk about things that weren't comfortable with other people who didn't share their views. And the reason I say unfortunate is because I've since been to a number of seminars with a group called Living Room Conversations that pretty much has taken on the role of trying to be an infrastructure provider for people who want to do this. They have tools, they have a Zoom accounts you can use, and all sorts of things that support this activity. And they said, well, a title like that's probably going to discourage people, because who wants to go be uncomfortable? So I don't know what I'm going to call it. We were doing it through May and took a break for the summer, give me a chance to reorganize a little, and we're going to start again in September. So
Cool.
we talk about immigration, we talk about gun control, we talk about healthcare, all of the things that people out in the public square are screaming at each other about. We try to sit people down and literally in someone's living room and have a conversation about it. And,
Yeah, have a cordial conversation.
yeah, cordial and respectful and informative, and nobody's there to change the other person's mind. They're just there to learn and to help other people understand why they think what they think.
Yeah, interesting. So tell us a little bit about Relive. Tell us about that, the company, and what that's about.
Okay, Relive is a supplement and wellness product manufacturer. They distribute their products through a network marketing sales model. And I got involved with that probably around 2010 or so. And I have to say, I wasn't excited about the network marketing part because I'd done that before and ended up with a garage full of soap that I still have some of 20 years later. But I was interested in the products. I've got a really terrible genetic heritage. My dad, his dad, and his 4 sisters were all dead from some kind of cancer before they were 70. My mom's family, her dad died of heart disease. Her mother had diabetes and Alzheimer's. My mom had heart disease, diabetes. And so, you get the idea. So I was always kind of a vitamin pill popper and never really noticed much. I was just doing it on faith. So these products were simple. I didn't have to worry, I was taking 13, 15 pills a day at one point. And because I'd read something in the paper or I'd hear something on the news, and so I better add some folate, or I better add some B12. I didn't know what I was doing. So I was attracted to the idea that the company knew what it was doing and it formulated the products so that I didn't have to worry about it. So I thought, well, throw away my pills, I'll take the product, that'll get this guy off my back. And that's what I did. And they just made a big difference. I lost some weight, I lost some cholesterol count, I just had more energy. So I was just using the products, basically. And then over time, I would talk to people who were interested and they would buy some. I thought, well, I'm not a salesperson really, but it would be a really nice, it'd be a really good change. It's a social business. I got to be out. I got to be talking to people. And the more I look around me and see how many of us aren't blessed with good health, the more I thought I really ought to talk to people about this. I mean, if they don't want to do it, fine, but it worked pretty well for me. And of course, since then, I realize it's more than just taking a product. You know, if you want to be well, you've got to get the right nutrition, no question, and this makes that easy. But you've also got to eat the right food. I mean, I don't care how many great nutrition products you take. If 4 nights a week you're at Pizza Hut, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
So you got to eat right. You got to do the nutrition. You got to exercise. You've got to be active. I'll put it that way. You don't have to be a gym rat, but you have to move. You have to exercise, and you have to really look at your relationship with stress and how you're going to deal with that. If you do all of those things, you're probably going to be pretty well. You know, things happen, but you're probably going to live a pretty healthy life. And so that's kind of the program I put together for my business, is to look at those 3 things: what you eat, how active you are in your relationship with stress, and help people find ways they can improve in those 3 areas. And if people do it, it usually works pretty well for them. And if they don't,
Yeah. You know, there's a lot of studies out there that show how stress relates to disease, how stress relates to overweight, how stress is the factor for so many negative health issues.
there's
And
there's a hormone that we produce called cortisol. And we produce cortisol in response to stress. And what it does is it gets your blood pressure up, increases your heart rate, gets you ready to fight or flee. And in the old days, when every once in a while you'd cross paths with a saber-toothed tiger, that was all a good thing. Now people are stressed so constantly now that they're never unstressed. So constantly stimulating themselves with cortisol, and it does, it puts on weight, it promotes addictive behaviors, it raises your blood pressure, does a lot of other things. There's a wonderful book I'm about in the middle of now called The Hacking of the American Brain. And I don't have it in front of me, so I can't remember the author, but I can send it to you. But anyway, the idea is that the stimulation we get just living our lives today and the stress we're under through work, through constant pinging of our cell phones, through the marketing that we're exposed to, stimulates the production of these hormones. And that leads us down the path to ill health and addiction. And there's, addiction, we think of, heroin or cocaine, but you can just as easily be addicted to your cell phone or to
sugar.
Or sugar is a very, very risky. It's, Coca-Cola, when it was originally formulated, had sugar, alcohol, and cocaine. And it was formulated by a pharmacist who was an addict. And of course, cocaine became illegal, and alcohol you can't sell in a soft drink. So the company eventually took those out, but it's still using sugar. And sugar, according to this book, sugar produces the same chemical changes in your brain as cocaine does.
Wow.
And it's what's the word I'm looking for? Inflammation agent. It's inflammatory. It inflames our systems, and that's the cause of so many illnesses. So yeah, you're right.
I'm a pretty healthy guy. I go to the gym fairly regularly. I live a very active lifestyle. I do 2 minutes with Titus videos on Facebook and LinkedIn, and I'm usually in the middle of a run or a jog or something like that. And so I pride myself on being fairly healthy. But I tell you what, if I were to pick one thing, it would be sugar. If there was one thing that I need to conquer at this point in life, it would be the sugar.
Yeah, I talk to a lot of people, and I find that there's two kinds of people in the world: the people who have a problem with sugar and the people who have a problem with salt. See, I'm a salt guy. I can walk right past the dessert bar, but put a bag of Doritos in front of me and you got me.
Yeah. You're hooked, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's, and that's, so, you know, you've talked quite a little bit about, you know, health and nutrition and stress and eating healthy, dealing with the stress and taking the supplements and stuff. And that goes right in line with, you know, Glow Growth and Development, how I look at the mental mindset, the health and nutrition, you know, the relationships and the heart, and the nutrition is a key factor. That's why I have it as one of the subjects or one of the topics for my workshops, is because it's such a major factor in people's lives.
Oh yeah, and it's more than just becoming aware of what's good to eat and what's not, and you know, and getting the right food into you. It's unfortunately today a large part of it is a matter of understanding all the ways in which the food marketing industry tricks us. Food labeling is very confusing, and it's not accidental. And the things you read on boxes of food, you know, you have to know what they mean. You walk down an aisle in a store and see natural this and natural that. Natural doesn't mean anything in terms of at all.
Yeah.
And it just the number of ways in which we're tricked at the grocery store. And then a whole other area is, how often do you eat out? And I'll tell you what, the more often you eat out, the sicker you're going to be.
Yeah. 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 Make your food at home for sure, as much as possible.
And not only what's in it, but, you know, a restaurant meal is easily 1,500, 1,800 calories. And you can go to places like Cheesecake Factory, not to pick on them because they're no worse than a lot of places, but you can sit down and have a meal there and walk out with 2 days worth of, you know, people don't realize that.
Yeah.
So there's that. It's a tricky landscape. And then I see lots of studies that say the lower you are on the economic scale, the more difficult it is for you to eat well, no matter how hard you try. Because maybe you're a single mom, you got a couple of kids, you're working 2 jobs. There's no Safeway within 20 miles of you. And you get home, you got 2 hours, and you got to get out to your second job. You think, I don't have time to cook, I don't have the money to go shopping, so I'm just going to pop in a pizza or a frozen meal.
You know, you could grab a $1 hamburger, right? Or grab the apple that's $1.50. You know, and some people say, well, I'll save the money, buy the cheaper of the two, the hamburger, you know, and it's more food supposedly with the bun, but the bun, you know, I'm a stickler on not artificial, but calories that have no nutritional value, like buns, right? It's just bleached wheat. There's no nutritional value in it. And anyway, so yeah, it does cost more to eat healthy for sure.
And it's, you know, it's not just the money for a lot of people, it's the time.
Yeah.
Which is a little bit of a canard, because there are all sorts of ways to make it take less time. But it does take a little time and a little effort to get started. So, I mean, with a lot of people, it's just, you know, it's not saying here's a list of 500 things you've got to change. It's just tweaking little things here and there in their lifestyle that make a difference. And if they do it and it makes a difference, then they're ready for the next tweak. So it's kind of a step-by-step journey, not an event.
Yeah, my daughter made a delicious Oriental chicken meal last night in the crock pot. And I told her, I said, thank you for using the crock pot. One, you know, she didn't heat up the house by cooking in the oven, and it was really delicious. And it took a little bit of time because it's a crock pot, slow cooker. But anyway,
you have to spend. You plug it in, you fill it up, and it sits there for 6 hours and cooks. Right? Yeah, they're wonderful things.
Yep, it's just a little bit about planning ahead a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Understanding the geography of a grocery store. Most people don't. I mean, grocery stores are designed to steer you into buying the wrong things.
Yeah, Yeah, you're absolutely right.
So, I mean, those are the sorts of things I try to do with people, not just say, here, take this, but here are the things you need to know, and here are the behaviors you can cultivate that over time are going to make a big difference.
Yeah. So you used a word just a minute ago called tweak, right? Just a little tweak here and there. So let me ask you, what is something that you've done to tweak, grow, stretch? What is something that you've done for yourself recently to become the person you are now, a better person that you are now?
I was, now I'm going to forget who, maybe it was Tony Robbins, but maybe not, but whoever the speaker was said, when you're afraid of something, and it's not a train bearing down on you on the track, but you're afraid, that's really telling you this is an area of your life where you need to push through and spend some time. This is an area where you need to grow. So that's certainly true for me. Well, this whole business, I mean, I've always been a horrible introvert. And talking to people was, I don't want someone to say no, I don't want them to think I'm being pushy, I don't want them to judge me for doing this. All of these excuses that I make up was a fear. And just moving into a social business where building relationships and talking to people is the key to success was a huge step. The other thing I did just 2 years ago really was I don't know if you're familiar with Landmark International.
Oh yeah.
I went through their whole program one after another. Most people do one, take some time, do another, which may not be a bad way to do it. But I just went start to finish through the 3 programs, and that truly is a life-changing experience. One of the biggest lessons I got out of that was in the very first program, where they take you through the idea that what you react to and the things you base your actions on are not real. That something happens in your life. Somebody says, "Boy, that is the stupidest looking jacket I ever saw." Right? That's what happens. And in your head, you hear, "Wow, she's making fun of me. She's, I'm inferior. I'm not. I shouldn't have put this on. This is stupid. I'm stupid." And you interpret what happened and make up this whole story about it. And then that story becomes your reality. And you live your life based on the story. And this is very, very active when you're a child. So you go through your whole life doing things and reacting in ways and being a person based on things that aren't even real, things that you made up for yourself. And since then, I catch myself all the time doing that. And that just makes a really, really big difference. If I feel judged, you say something like, "Well, network marketing, that's a scam. That's pretty stupid." And I feel judged about that. I don't anymore, because now I'm saying, okay, that's how you feel about it. That's what you said. It doesn't mean anything as far as who I am, and I can go on and make choices and live in a way and be in a different way, reacting to what really happens instead of my made-up story about it. So that was a big thing, and continues to be a big thing that I do differently now. Is I constantly have to stop myself and say, "Wait a minute, you just made that up. That's not what he said at all. That's how you felt about what he said." I think if people,
that's a story. That's a story that you wrote, and continue. You can play it once and just keep playing it over and over, and it's a story that you made up.
Yeah, and then after a while, it stops being a story, and it becomes your reality.
Reality.
And your decisions and your choices and your actions and literally who you become is based on this reality that you made up.
Yeah. There's another coach out there who uses the word paradigm, and you write that paradigm and you just play that paradigm over and over and over. And really what he says is to recognize that story, that paradigm, and replace it with another story, with the true story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you don't even really need a story. You can just take what
let it go.
This is what really happened. This is what he said. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow, that was good. So how would you define yourself now? Like, so you were just talking a minute ago about going through the landmark. How would you briefly describe yourself in the past, and then how would you describe yourself now?
I think in the past, up until maybe a couple of years ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I just kind of charged ahead, thinking I knew what I needed to do and I just needed to do it. And never really stopped to think if I was doing those things because that was me and I wanted to do those things, or if I was doing those things because that's what I was supposed to do. And so I'm very much in a transition. Landmark would call it a transformation, but transition from that to being honest with myself. You know, we talk about the stories, just dealing with the realities, being self-directed. In other words, not so much worried about what you think of me as what I think of me. Being intentional. So much of what we do is habit. It's not even really a decision. We just do it because we do it. I don't know, you read different things, 40, 50% of what we do every day is habit. It's not all bad. I mean, if I had to stop and think hard about tying my shoes, that would be bad. But so much of what we do is just habit. So being intentional means, no, why am I doing this? What should I really be doing now at this point, this moment in time? What's the best thing for me to do now? Being intentional and being much more socially engaged. So that's the person I'm going to be.
Amen.
I'm in between now. The very self-absorbed, other-directed person that I was to the person. So I'd say I'm in a transition time, and it's. I'm 67 years old, so it's pretty exciting. It feels like something you would do in your 20s.
You're 67 years young.
Yeah. I planned around for a while. I'm already the oldest male in my family in 4 generations.
Wow. And so have you been able to witness some of the evidence of this transformation?
Good question. Yeah, I think so. Particularly, one of the things I've found is that I would have a tendency to worry about things. Oh my God, I have to be on this call with Titus at 3 o'clock, and I better sit down and really write out the answers to these questions, and I better really, right? I used to get all wrapped up in that. And what I've discovered as I'm paying attention is the reality of something is almost never as bad as the anticipation. Almost never. So things almost always go better than I'm worried, like they are now. And so all I do worrying is torture myself.
Yeah.
If it is a disaster, well, then I've just had the disaster twice instead of once. So that's the biggest evidence is a lot of the things that I was afraid of or that I worry about don't materialize when I force myself to do it anyway, and it usually turns out to be pretty pleasant.
Yeah, like fear, right? False expectations appearing real.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so this video I intend to put out and let people watch, and this video in the future that is going to take that last little nugget that you gave about worry and say, man, I am like this now. And if Steve cannot be like that and things are okay, then maybe I should let things be okay and not worry about it and live life. And I really think that conversation that we just had a minute ago on worry and letting things happen and living and just let life be is meant for somebody in the future. And I don't know who it is, but I'm excited to know that it's going to touch his heart and it's going to change their world.
Yeah, I hope so, because once you clear that away, it's like, say you need tires for your car. So Sunday morning, you get the paper, you get your coffee, sit down on the couch, open up the automotive section, and wow, guess what? Every place in town has tires on sale. Everywhere. Well, of course, every place has tires on sale every Sunday, but you never saw it because you weren't looking for tires. It's just like that. When you clear this out of your way, you see all of these opportunities in front of you that were always there, but you never saw them before. And that's what's exciting about it. And you know, it's not like a light switch. I mean, you don't just hear this and say, okay, I'm not going to worry anymore. It takes some time to build a new habit, catch yourself doing it. And I just got a t-shirt that says, do it anyway. And that's what you got to do. And you're right, it's about fear. You just push through it and then afterwards ask yourself, now, was that really so bad?
Was it so bad?
9 times out of 20, it was not.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And once you become aware here of what it looks like and what it feels like in your life, that worry, once you become aware of what it looks like and feels like, you can recognize it faster.
Exactly.
And when you start recognizing it faster, then you can nip it in the bud as opposed to letting it grow and manifest and just consume your day. Now you just stop it in a split second and say, I'm not going to walk down that road any longer. I'm going to choose to go in this direction.
Yep. And the more you do that, the easier it gets.
Yeah. Yep. It's like a muscle going to the gym or whatever. The more you do it, the stronger you get. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's absolutely fabulous. You know, and as we wrap up this phone call, I really believe that this whole conversation was meant for that last 5 minutes right there, as we're going to be speaking to somebody's heart and their mind and telling them that that there's other people that are like them that have gotten through it, right? That have gotten through it and have changed their life for the better, and that they can do that too.
Yeah, I think there's probably no problem I will face that somebody else hasn't faced and overcome before.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just want to acknowledge you and appreciate you for your time, for sharing your story, for coming on today and partnering with me in being a blessing to people's lives, to the people that are going to watch this and walk away with something to think about, with a broader vision, an awareness about their life, and see how that they can make it better.
Well, I enjoyed it. It was a pleasant time. I appreciate it very much. And I'm looking forward to going to your next event. Is it in August or October?
Yes. Yes. Thank you for asking. It's August 20th. August 20th is coming up. And we've got a couple more, a week or so with the early bird ticket pricing. So, yes, I'm glad you'll be coming, and it's going to be a fantastic time.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
So, awesome. Well, Steve, you have an awesome day. And once again, thanks for coming on.
My pleasure. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.